Hello! Okay, Ahsoka, Episode 4, Fallen Jedi. I am a little bit late with this review, but here we go. The standout for me with this episode was Baylan Skoll, played beautifully by Ray Stevenson. I absolutely love what Ray Stevenson is doing with this character. There are so many layers to the character, and you can just see that through his performance. There's just so much going on, and the writing, along with it. I feel the writing is quite smart. It's very tight, and it says so much while also being quite simple. It does what it needs to do, and that, along with Ray Stevenson's performance, just I find his character mesmerizing. I find his performance mesmerizing. The way he delivers the lines, like "Faith, I lost that a long time ago." It is beautiful the way in which he delivers the lines, and yeah, I just, for me, he is one of the standouts with this show. I absolutely loved him in this episode, and just going back to layers, this character, you find out that this character has this sort of honor code. When it comes to Shin force choking Sabine, he tells her to stop because it's like he's given her his word and he's not going back on that. And I just like that. It's those little things that they are doing with a character that just adds so much depth and layers to these characters. So I really like what he's doing, and I just don't get a lot of the negative criticism when it comes to the writing, because I feel the writing in this show, it's tight. It's not Shakespeare, it's not, it's nothing sophisticated, but it's doing the job for me. I'm also really liking Ivana Sakno, I think that's how you pronounce her name, and she's playing Shin, the apprentice of Baylan, and again, through her performance, there's so much going on with the eyes. And I just love how they've done this with every episode, where they just linger on these characters for a couple of moments. This is one particular moment in the latest episode where she confronts Sabine and Ahsoka, and it just lingers there for a moment on her character, and it just allows us to get really immersed into the moment. And they do this quite a bit through the first 4 episodes, where the camera will just linger on these characters to allow us to sort of really get a gist, get an idea of what these characters are feeling and thinking through their performance. There's a lot that is told visually through these performances. I'm really digging the performances, and again, it's one of those sort of, a lot of kind of negative criticism is aimed towards the writing and the performances, and I'm just not quite getting it. For me, it's all just working. I love the duel with Ahsoka and Morak. I feel like there's a lot more energy when it comes to the duel, the fight, the lightsaber scenes within this episode compared to the first 2. One of my criticisms was with the first 2 episodes was when it came to the sort of those lightsaber fight scenes, they felt a little bit too choreographed, like almost as if it was a dance, and it just felt a little bit too choreographed, if that makes any sense. Whereas in this episode, this duel with Morak as well as Baylan later on in the episode had more of a fluid, natural, organic feel to it. Like, it doesn't look like a fight that they know how it's gonna pan out because they've been training the same fight over and over and over again. It just has that kind of more of a natural feel to it, and yeah, I really dug it. And I love the fact that Morak is a character that is just, he has a mask and that's it. He still has this mystery around him, which again takes us back to the original trilogy. For example, with Boba Fett, with a very cool helmet, but he had this mystery about him. And when you're a kid watching something like Star Wars, your imagination, it's just like, your imagination just comes alive, and I love it. I know we've all had our theories on who Morak might be, including me. Like, I was kind of thinking it could be Starkiller, but then when it's revealed that he is just another character that we don't really know who he was, he still has that mystery to him, and I just really liked that they did that, because again, it's what, this entire show, but especially this particular episode, really kind of felt like old classic Star Wars that I grew up watching with A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. It has that vibe about it, and again, it's one of those small elements within the show where you've got this mysterious character that we never knew who he was, and we're not gonna find out, but they're allowing us to just use our imagination, and I just really dig that. And you've got one of my favourite moments in the show so far, and that's the duel between Baylan and Ahsoka. There's so much energy within this scene. Again, going back to the fighting style, it feels feels more organic, it feels more natural and fluid, and you get to see Baylan's very distinct fighting style. He is a fucking beast. The way you could feel the power behind his attacks, and just the way he sort of goes in for Ahsoka, you could feel it, and just the way this entire scene plays out is beautiful. The tension, the build-up, and just going back to the writing in the scene along with the performance from Ray Stevenson is just simply beautiful. Like, there's this line where he says, "Few would live to see what he became," in reference to Anakin Skywalker. And it's chilling. It gave me chills, and it's because of the way in which he delivers these lines. And Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka is fantastic in the scene as well. There's some shots, beautiful shots of her where she's defending herself against the attacks of Baylan, and you can feel the power of those attacks through her performance. Like, this is one shot of her here that I just think is fantastic, and it shows... you could see it through her performance. You feel it. You're feeling sort of those attacks. This entire episode kind of has this ticking time clock vibe to it when it comes to the pacing and the momentum as the episode starts to the climax. They've got to get to this map to stop the hyperspace ring from being able to jump, into another galaxy. And the way in which the episode is paced is very well done, I felt. And it kind of goes back to I still have a gripe in regards to the length of these episodes, and it's quite funny because the reason why I don't like the short length of these episodes is because I want more of these characters. I want more of Baylan, I want more of Ahsoka, I want more of Sabine. But the thing is, the length works for what they're doing in regards to the story. For example, you've got this beautiful kind of momentum that's created throughout episode 4, where you've got these characters racing against time to get this map to stop this hyperspace ring from from jumping into this other galaxy to retrieve Thrawn and all of that. And you can kind of feel that urgency through the entire episode, and I think it works because of the runtime, because of the way in which the story is told within this 35 minutes, I believe it was, 40 minutes. And it's like, well, I don't like the runtime, but also the runtime works for what they're doing within these episodes for this story, because they tell a portion of the story that kind of requires it to be that length. And so yeah, there we are, innit? There is this one moment that kind of bugged me due to logic, I felt, and this might just be me, I don't know, but let me know if you agree or disagree. But when Sabine retrieves the map, and she's got the map in her hand, and you've got Ray Stevenson as Baylan, beautifully tormenting her, but getting her to sort of, getting her to do what he wants her to do, basically, by handing over the map. And again, Ray Stevenson is just fucking simply fantastic in this role and in this moment. But you've got Sabine holding this map with the gun, so she's threatening to destroy it. And I'm just like, that's gonna hurt you, surely, if you blast that in your hand. Like, it would have just been perhaps... And I don't know, my brain just could not help but see that. And it was like, oh, really? Like, put it fucking down on the floor or something. Like, that's gonna fucking blow your hand off. But yeah, there's like a little moment like that when it comes to logic that just really bugged me, but And what I really liked about this moment between Baylan and Sabine is... it sort of kind of really highlighted that, we are all human. We're all run by our emotions. We sometimes allow our emotions to get in the way. And he uses the one thing that the Jedi should have, which is that detachment from, having any personal feelings with a loved one, taking that away. And he uses that aspect of the Jedi code against Sabine because, she's not a Jedi. And I just really liked how they did that, along with the writing and how he was, he's trying to persuade her to hand over this map. Kind of just really highlighted that, this character of Sabine is like a lot of us, where, we're only human. And to some degree, we do allow our emotions to take over from us. And he uses the one thing that a Jedi should have, or should be able to do, and that is disconnect themselves emotionally and personally from someone. And yeah, whereas a lot of people sort of questioned that scene, would Sabine really have sort of gave in so easily, considering the threat they're up against? It kind of showed that weakness and sort of the reason to why Jedi sort of had this kind of mechanism, this aspect to their code, and I just really like that. And another element of this show that just really takes me back to being a kid again, watching that original trilogy for the first time, is the beautiful score by Kevin Kiner. I absolutely adore the music in this show. It taps into, you know, that classic Star Wars sound, but at the same time it's also new, and I just feel like that's what the entire show is doing with the writing and just how these characters, you know, are written and brought to life. It feels like Star Wars. And yeah, I just think his score, Kevin Kiner's score, they really need to use him more along with Dave Filoni, because for me, you could tell they truly understand Star Wars and what it is. And the episode ends with us with Ahsoka in the world between worlds, and I'm not entirely sure how I feel about this whole sort of the world between worlds thing and how it works and what they could potentially do with it. And so I'm a little bit like, there's certain things that I don't want them to do with this aspect of the story, and I don't really want them kind of massively rewriting a lot of what's been done before. I think there's things they can do with it that can be quite clever, and if they're quite clever and smart with it, could potentially work. But I don't think they should really be heavy-handed with it. But yeah, we've got Ahsoka stuck in between the world between worlds. And you get that very kind of bittersweet moment where she turns around and Anakin's there smiling at her. And I think this entire moment really kind of highlights what this character is going through, or what she has gone through in regards to sort of all the hurt and the pain with the Jedi Order and that relationship with Anakin. And I think, for me anyway, really highlights what I find captivating about and just compelling really about this character of Ahsoka. And it's a beautiful moment, it's bittersweet, it pulls on the heartstrings, and it's a one hell of a cliffhanger. So yeah, they're showing episode 5 at cinemas across America. We've got it in one location over here in the UK, and that is in London, and that's really frustrating. I mean, if you follow me on social media, like Twitter or X or whatever the hell he's fucking calling it now, I kind of got my frustrations out there. The UK is a lot bigger than London, and it's like, why aren't they showing it in a lot more locations? Like Cardiff, Manchester, Glasgow, Dublin. Why just London? So yeah, that's very frustrating, because I'd love to see episode 5 on the big screen, on the biggest screen possible with the best sound possible, but there we are in it, So yeah, they are my thoughts on episode 4, Fallen Jedi. I'm really liking this show. It really taps into what made Star Wars magical back when I was a kid, watching the original trilogy on VHS for the first time. But what do you guys think? Do you agree or disagree with anything I've said? Let me know below and let's get a discussion going. And if you've made it this far into the video, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And if you want to see future reviews from a Welsh geek just ramble on, then please hit the subscribe button. It will mean an awful lot to me. My next couple of reviews will be for Ahsoka episode 5 and A Haunting in Venice, which releases here in the UK on Friday. So yeah, thank you for watching, really do appreciate it, and I'll be catching you guys soon.